Alright, we're going to be replacing this deck mount faucet today. First thing I usually do is have a conversation with the customer about these angle stops, because when you shut them off, the rubber inside of there can break apart when it gets turned back on, and it'll clog up the new faucet, or they can start leaking from the packing nut, in which case they'll just have a drip going inside their nice cabinet here. I always keep a little half bucket, that way I can drain down lines like this. And now I'm going to drop my P-trap into it. We're actually going to be replacing this trap and using a tubular style P-trap that has like a male adapter onto the pipe. I just find those are easier to use. We're going to loosen up this nut for the pop-up, and then this gasket is usually wedged up in here, so I'm going to pull it down, and sometimes you have to cut it, rip it out, and don't be like me and forget to undo this part before you push up on it. At this stage I got pretty lucky because mine was super easy to unspin. Sometimes you need to use a pair of pliers above and below to be able to loosen up that nut. It's usually pretty frozen on there. To use our tubular trap, we're just going to need to put a male adapter onto the pipe. So I'm going to cut it, clean it up with a little piece of sand cloth, and then glue on our male adapter with some ABS glue. You're going to see me using a lot of OD products on this channel. I'm an ambassador for them for 2023, so I get a quarterly kit where I can try out their products and tell you guys what I think about them. Moving on to the shutoff valves. These are compression style valves, so they have a nut and then a ferrule that gets crimped around the pipe, and the threads on the angle stop are compression. So these are generally pretty user friendly. Sometimes you run into issues with removing the old ferrule, and I also hear a lot of people reuse the ferrule, which is not technically recommended, but I know it can be done without leaks as long as the threads match up. So if you're not comfortable with this stage, just contact your local plumber, or at least have two people in the house. That way one person could run and shut off the water. I usually just try to wiggle the ferrule off, and I tend to have pretty good luck in doing so. And then we're going to grab our sand cloth again, and we're going to clean up the pipe, make sure there's a nice smooth surface for the ferrule to bite onto. We're also going to deburr it, and then we grab our plastic escutcheons. I like these because they don't rust. Okay, we're going to take off our nut. We're going to put the nut on the pipe. The ferrule goes next, and then I usually put a little bit of pipe dope on the threads for the angle stop. I just find that it helps it create a better seal. The threads move easier to remove in the future. And I'm using a special angle stop wrench, which I have in my link tree. I can put that in the comment section. This makes it pretty easy to swap out compression angle stops. I do quite a few of them, so having a tool like this definitely makes it easy, but you could also use your crescent wrench or adjustable wrench, whatever you prefer. Now we're going to shove some paper towels down through the pop-up just to clean it out. Make sure there's no putty left up above. Remove that linkage. So far everything's going super easy for me, which I'm sure it seems all these YouTube videos showing you how to do it seem pretty easy. But I definitely have those faucets where I have to cut things out, and you'll see me go for the sand cloth again here. You could also use like a Brillo pad or a Scotch-Brite pad. I like to use it with a little Simple Green. It's just a nice degreaser, smells nice. This plate here says to use plumber's putty on it, so we're going to grab our OD putty again. Got that from the Home Depot. It's non-staining. Put a little ring around that plate, and then the nut here is 7/16. We have a nut driver for it, so that works out perfect. Otherwise, you could just use a little crescent wrench. This faucet has built-in supply lines, which is pretty nice. You're also going to want to flush them out, but in my case, I was working on a tub in the same house, so I'm going to flush it out through the tub, and then I'll just remove the aerator before I actually use the faucet. Next, we're going to break out the pop-up assembly, which this one is all plastic construction, so not my favorite, but it is customer supplied parts. And this is probably what you're going to get from all your Home Depot and Lowe's faucets. Using the plumber's putty here again, push it up and spin until it stops from the top, and then I pull it down from below. Now I get this nut hand tight, run it up to the top. The instructions are probably going to tell you to stop there, but I like to give it a few turns with a wrench too. That pop-up gasket is real prone to leaking there or even loosening up over time. Then you're going to want to reach for that rod that holds the plunger. It's got a gasket that goes before and after that ball with a nut to tighten it up. You're going to be holding the plunger in your top hand and putting that rod in to find where it catches below, and then you'll tighten up that nut. You'll attach this extension piece to that rod, and then there's a clip. You're going to put one hole through, and then the extension piece, and then the back side of that clip. It's supposed to stay open like that to keep some tension on that rod, keep it from moving back and forth too much. We're going to turn that with our wrench and then pull on it to test it. You can see that plastic, there's a lot of movement. Don't feel great about it, but it is what it is. Grab the rest of that tubular P-trap next. We already grabbed the male adapter out of it and glued it on earlier, so it's had time to set. Nut that goes down below, and then you're always going to put a nut and then a washer. I'm going to cut the tubular down with the Nipex Bix cutter. This is another company that sends me free products to try, and so far that has been pretty sweet for cutting tubular and whatnot. These connections just go together hand tight, so they're pretty foolproof if you get your washers facing the right direction. We're going to get the water back on, test everything out for leaks. I hope this video helps you out, and good luck with your faucet installation. Let me know if you have any questions down in the comments. I'll try to answer them.